Good evening all, I'm Aditi Lamba with the Wednesday night edition of South Asian News, Vision of Asia. We are coming to you from our studio in New York City. Welcome to the show. Let's begin the episode taking a look at the coronavirus pandemic and its impact. The world is at 192 million cases of COVID-19 with now more than 4 million deaths. The Olympics 2020 Summer Games are set to start this Friday, even with Tokyo under a state of emergency as cases rise in Japan. Several athletes have already tested positive for COVID-19 just days before the Games. Many experts globally have warned that the cases across the world are rising with very concerning variants of the coronavirus, and countries need to assess their COVID-19 situation and implement measures if needed. Here in the United States, we are at more than 34 million cases of the coronavirus and at least 609,000 deaths. The highly contagious Delta variant now accounts for 83% of new COVID-19 cases, and these infections are rising in most states, especially the ones with low vaccination rates. Less than half of the U.S. population is currently fully vaccinated, concerning many healthcare professionals about the other half of Americans that are not. Many experts are encouraging mitigation steps now and are pleading communities, especially in the South and Midwest, to get vaccinated. In politics, the United States will begin evacuating Afghans who aided U.S. military soon, while the U.S. troops are being brought back to the country after 20 years of war. More on this and an exclusive with Congressman Krishnamoorthi is on the show tonight, so let's now take a look at the headlines coming in. Congressman Krishnamoorthi says no more COVID with NOVID Act, 8th Congressional District, Illinois. U.S. to begin evacuating under threat Afghans, featuring Dr. Lieutenant Colonel Kamal, Kalsi, New Jersey. Indian Lions Club celebrates 21 years of service and philanthropy work, New Jersey. It's time for a short break on Vision of Asia, Voice of the Community. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Aditi Lamba and this is Vision of Asia, Wednesday night episode of South Asian News. We have an exclusive segment tonight featuring Indian American Congressman Krishnamoorthi, the U.S. representative from Illinois' 8th Congressional District. Member of the Democratic Party, Congressman Krishnamoorthi recently has announced a huge initiative called the NOVID Act, nullifying opportunities for variants to infect and decimate, in a bid to protect the United States from the risk of new coronavirus strains by defeating the virus in nations still hardest hit by this pandemic. This legislation would dramatically expand American aid to India, Argentina, and other nations, and will do so through vaccinations. About 92 low and middle income countries are eligible to receive COVID-19 vaccines through the COVID-19 Vaccines Global Access called COVAX, and this legislation would help inoculate 60% of the populations of these nations. The bill would authorize a spending of $34 billion, and the congressman is confident that through this path we can defeat COVID-19 globally. In our conversation, Congressman Krishnamoorthi addressed the importance of the United States playing a crucial role in COVID-19 global vaccination efforts and the need for this legislation to pass soon. Here is Congressman Krishnamoorthi. One of the biggest things that I want to talk to you about just beginning this interview is the NOVID Act, Nullifying Opportunities for Variants to Infect and Decimate Act. This act is trying to reduce the transmission of coronavirus across the globe by providing vaccines. It's a $34 billion program which is promising to deliver about 8 billion vaccine doses. My first question to you is, why does the United States have to be the nation that has to start this effort?
We are not done with this pandemic. Even though a lot of people in the United States have been vaccinated, as well as people in certain other countries, the vast majority of the world's inhabitants have not been vaccinated. And therefore, because COVID still exists, it's a threat to everyone everywhere. And so that's why we have to get everyone vaccinated. And I've proposed this program because I believe that the U.S. is indispensable and is really the only power that can actually make this happen. And so that's why I'm proposing this particular NOVID Act, No More COVID, NOVID, which would help to vaccinate 60% of the population of the world's 92 poorest countries. And by doing so, we are doing the right thing, but we're also doing the smart thing in protecting ourselves.
Right, Congressman. You know, the people opposing this act are saying that this $34 billion could be used here in the United States. Could you just justify and clarify where this money is truly going and why it's so important to invest right now?
We already have a surplus of vaccines in the United States. And actually, a lot of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle believe that we should use the excess vaccines to get other people vaccinated. And so that's why it's so important that we redirect resources where the need exists and make sure that those people get vaccinated so that we don't have to deal with the next generation variants. Today, we have the Delta variants. Are we going to wait for the Epsilon variant? Are we going to wait for the next variant after that could defeat our vaccines at home? I sure don't want to wait.
Right. Congressman, when do you see this passing?
You may be familiar, but we have something called a reconciliation package that we're actively working on right now in Congress. And this is one of my top priorities.
The Indian American community also has given you a lot of support for this act, Congressman. You know, some of the help with these vaccines will also go to our homeland, India. What kind of support do you now need from the communities here, and how can they help you?
They need to advocate with their member of Congress or their U.S. senator to make sure that NOVID is a part of the reconciliation package. That's very important because by lending their voice to this particular bill or piece of legislation, they're also helping their friends and relatives back home in India. So let's all work on this together. We will help India, but we will help the entire world, including the United States.
If the pandemic is not over in other parts of the world, it's not going to be over at all. One last question about that. Is the Biden administration supporting this? What kind of words are you getting from them?
So far, the Biden administration does view this particular issue with great importance. That's why it has initiated a pledge to basically donate 500 million doses of vaccines over the next 2 years, which I think is a good start. But I think that we have to do much more than that to make sure that, what I think to be the right number, 8 billion doses of vaccines, actually gets into the arms of people all around the world.
Yes, so true. It's so important to, again, vaccinate everybody, and everyone here should get vaccinated. Let's talk about the U.S. now, Congressman. I'd like to discuss Chicago with you here. Chicago actually came up with the travel advisory that they updated yesterday, in which states Florida, Louisiana, Nevada, Missouri, and Arkansas are those 5 states where it's required that they test negative before coming into Chicago, or they have to quarantine. I believe you are supporting this. My question to you is, what made the city decide this, and should other cities, at least in Illinois, follow this?
The reason why they decided this is because, unfortunately, there has been a steady rise in cases and hospitalizations and the positivity rate in all of these different states. And what I would say to our neighbors is, please, we have to get everyone vaccinated. We have to get rid of the disinformation. And where necessary, we may even have to think about, making sure that there are even stronger incentives to get people vaccinated. This is absolutely crucial right now.
What's your take on the mask mandate coming back? LA counties are considering and or recommending this. How do you feel as a congressman about it?
I will let LA County kind of lead the way because they know their jurisdiction a lot better than I do.
Right.
But I do think that we have to take the Delta variant and the pandemic more seriously right now. That's why I am calling on everyone to get vaccinated. I think that where you have somebody who's not vaccinated, that person should be masked. I have a 5-year-old at home. We have 3 kids, 3 beautiful children. The 5-year-old is not eligible for vaccination. So we always make sure that she is masked wherever she goes. And we don't want her to get sick. And certainly we don't want to carry it to anyone else who is not eligible for vaccination yet.
Let's now take a look at the very known Lions Club with this vision to be the global leader in community and humanitarian service. Internationally recognized with many chapters, the Lions Club empowers volunteers to serve their respective communities, meet humanitarian needs, encourage peace, and promote international understanding of philanthropy. There are about 1.4 million caring individuals of the Lions Club serving together to make a lasting impact and change more lives. They say being a lion is about building relations and improving the world through kindness. On that, recently, New Jersey's Indian Lions Club held celebration for completing 21 years of service and to introduce new members who took an oath to dedicate themselves to several causes of the Lions Club. Here is the story.
Lions Club, when you look at it, the Lions motto is "We serve." That is the greatest thing. And when Helen Keller challenged the Lions, International Lions, that to become the Knights of the Blind, and Lions took the challenge. And they have one of the major flagship project is to eradicate, help people with who have blindness, and in terms of cataracts and other things. I see some young people here, and you can become a young lion, and you can learn. I think you can learn. I think one of the things you learn, the humility, and you learn so much about that. And Lions Club is also aging. A lot of people, when I was there, and I had people who are 85 years old who are the members of the Lions Club. So we need to keep it going. So we need to have younger people, and as parents, we have an obligation to serve this great country, and not only this great country, the world. I mean, this is an international Lions Club, and so it's one of the largest membership organizations in the world.
Harish Mehta welcomes everybody for 21st year of New Jersey Lions Club celebration year. We started June 4th, 2001 with the blessing of Upendra Singh Gulan, because he had inspired me that Harish bhai, why can't we have Indian Lions Club in East Coast? Before there was no Indian Lions Club in East Coast. There's a one in West Coast. So with his blessing, and he made me motivated to start Indian Lions Club. Before that, some Indians are members here and there. We start name Edison, New Jersey Indian Lions Club. We had couple of members. That time the membership fee was only $30. Today $135, and still our number is going up in membership.
So today we are getting together after the COVID. So we have some new members. We want to recognize them. And there are some people here, they want to join us today also. Okay, we are very, very fortunate that people want to. This is the organization of the service. You give the service to the humanity. This comes from the heart. So we have a people here that who are doing this work. And this 20 years is not easy. We have very ups and downs. But there are people who are loyal, they came and they stay with us all the time. There are some people who are not members, but still they are helping us today, even after long years. Like this, the Gattu Bhai and everybody. They are not members, but they are with us with their heart open and wallet open. Whenever we have some project, they are there. So we never have to worry about that. So today let's start with honoring the new members.
Do you hereby accept membership in the Lions Club of New Jersey Indian Lions Club and Lions Club International, knowing that you are encouraged to participate in the function of the club? To the best of your ability, will you abide by the Lions Code of Ethics, attend meetings whenever possible to contribute your share to the program of your club, district, and the Lions Club International?
When we did a program
Day.
in the Valentine's Day in the seniors nursing home, the people who don't have any hopes left, and you have to see that he and his team, they made everybody, seniors, smile. They dance, they weep. They never imagined that they will go through such an experience. He made everybody else happy. He's the guy. He sings good too.
One, give this blessing to Samit so he can do more community work with the Lions Club.
Remove all the obstacles.
It's now time for another short break on Vision of Asia, Voice of the Community. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And welcome back. I'm Aditi Lama and this is Vision of Asia South Asian news segment. In politics and more, the United States this month will begin evacuating Afghanistan applicants for special immigration visas whose lives are at risk because of their work with the US government as translators and in other roles. Called Operation Allies Refuge, this evacuation will begin next week for thousands of Afghan applicants and their families who risk retaliation from other forces. This concern has grown with the surge in fighting between US-backed Afghan forces and the Taliban in recent weeks, with the militants gaining territory as well as capturing border crossings. The Biden administration is considering a number of locations, including military installations, both abroad and in the US, to temporarily house these Afghans while their visa applications are being processed. Discussing more on this, we have now our conversation with Dr. Lieutenant Colonel Kamal Kalsi, who served in Afghanistan as an officer and a doctor. These are his personal views about protecting these specific Afghans as well as the US troop withdrawal from Afghanistan by August 31st. Here is Dr. Lieutenant Colonel Kamal Kalsi. US is starting to evacuate Afghans who aided military in Afghanistan today. The troops are being pulled out of Afghanistan on August 31st. So the first question has to be, do you think this is the right decision, evacuating them right now, and how do they ensure safety of these Afghans?
Yeah, and so before I say anything, I'll say that anything I say is in my personal capacity and doesn't necessarily reflect the opinions of DOD or the Army. These Afghan local nationals that we're evacuating right now, these are folks that helped us tremendously during the war effort in Afghanistan. Many of them were interpreters, and others were cultural experts, and others provided, other types of resources and aid. So, for them, as well as their families, staying in country is essentially a death sentence, because they are being hunted down even as we speak now. So it's really important that we evacuate them. Globally, we send a message of support to all of our allies, as we evacuate them. Otherwise, how could we leave these people in good conscience after we have already announced that we're pulling out of Afghanistan? I mean, they would be hunted down and killed, not just them, but their families. So I think it's really important that we uphold our promise to our Afghan interpreters and our allies.
How soon do you think these Afghan people should be brought here or wherever their safety area is going to be designated?
Yeah, I know there's a few different areas where they're thinking about evacuating them to. I know some of them will be evacuated directly here to the U.S. And others will be brought out to, other countries and other areas. I believe Guam is one of the other areas that they're talking about, and I believe other countries have stepped up to accept these individuals as well.
So, while we're talking about this, I have to ask you, America is ending its 20-year-long war in Afghanistan. On August 31st, only a couple hundred troops will remain there, protecting the embassy in Kabul, I believe. Do you think this is the right time to pull the troops out? Is it the time to end this war, which has, caused so much devastation for people in Afghanistan and also our troops there?
And that's way above my pay grade, as the saying goes. These are definitely political decisions that are made, and I support President Biden and his initiatives. So it is a difficult, very, very difficult decision to make, to be pulling out of a country where you've essentially fought in for about 20 years. So it's America's longest running war. There's been a lot of lives lost. I served in Afghanistan for a little over 7 months in 2011, and took care of some of the worst injuries that we saw during the conflict. So it definitely it is a bittersweet moment. I'm happy that we're bringing the troops home, and I'm sure that the soldiers that are coming home are happy. But it also begs the question, why exactly were we there? What did we accomplish? I think there's and I think the Biden administration asks these types of questions. Even now, what is our presence in Afghanistan, continued presence in Afghanistan doing? What are we accomplishing? And so I think at the end of the day, they decided that the ongoing cost, not just in money, but in the blood, sweat, and tears that we put into it, is that justified? Or is it better to just pull out and focus on non-conflict type of activities? Can you help rebuild some of their infrastructure? Can you help improve their own internal police and military activities? And so I think that's something that the administration, I think, will have to keep a keen eye on, improving rather than using the military route to try to support peace and continue governance in that country.
With this, we wrap up the show for the night. Please send us a suggestion and get your voices and organization on our show. Email us on events@itvgold.com or follow us on our Facebook handle @itvgold. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel for free access to many of our popular shows. Thank you for joining us tonight from Queens, New York. This is Vision of Asia, and I am Aditi Lamba. Take care and be well.